Hello and welcome to another jungle tutorial, and in this one we are going to be having a look at an Ornn jungle game. But before you click away because you don't like tanks and you don't like Ornn, it is very much a total jungling game. There is tracking, there is counter ganking, there's objective control, there's 1v9 play in the first 12 to 15 minutes, there's throws, as well as the importance on target selection in teamfighting. But with a fair amount of mistakes that were made by both teams, and because this was a roughly mid-diamond, low-diamond MMR game, you're gonna have a good indicator of what makes these players, in the top 2%, but also what keeps them from climbing even higher. As such, everything you can learn from this game will definitely help you reach that diamond threshold, and if you're looking to get master tier and above, you need to correct these mistakes in order to do so. With the intro out of the way, if you do enjoy the video, please consider liking and of course subscribing, and without hesitation, let's begin with our first clears. Naturally, yes, I am the Ornn, but I'm gonna speak about it in third person to remain objective, and in essence, it's basically a good self-VOD review. I haven't been playing that much, and you can see the mechanical misplays in this game, you will see a lot of them as well, that can happen when you don't practice regularly, and you spend a lot of time coaching and of course making YouTube videos. But at the same time, because I do that, my mind is still kind of very active on the game, and as such I'm able to use that to get a lead over my enemy. Now thankfully my Qiyana had put a ward by the raptors. That little bit of vision is very important. If your mid laner doesn't do that, you can of course do that yourself as a jungler, walk on up, place it, go back to base, get the scanner, and then start at your red. But my goal here was very much level 3 in gank. Now you can full clear with Ornn, but because I saw the Nunu show up on the raptors, I knew it was most likely he was going red, raptors, wolves into blue, the 4 camp level 3 clear, and then definitely looking for a gank on either the bottom lane or the mid lane. So as such, I didn't want to go to the top side and do a full clear and then be on the opposite side of the action. I wanted to mirror him to a degree and be there ready to make a play. So now I will actually shift into the third person. Ornn heads to the bottom lane looking to get that gank. If you were correct in your tracking in that situation, you would see Nunu on the ward, which of course the Ornn and his team does, and the best you can do in this situation is try and win the fight before the Nunu arrives. Unfortunately, the player of Ornn is 31, almost 32, and that E was really late. But the Jinx got the reset passive going on there, which means all you have to do is dodge the Nunu W because, it's really funny to do, and at the same time try and retreat with your support and get a 1-for-1. In that situation, that's a win-win. Now, as the Ornn goes for the W on the Nunu, he turns in the other direction. Of course, this means it doesn't hit, and as such, the Nunu doesn't get CC'd. But the Nautilus then hits a hook, so basically, if the Ornn was playing a bit more with his brain activated, he would have thrown the W in an angle that would definitely hit the Nunu, and once that hook hits with the brittle proc and an auto attack, he most likely falls. And that's why when people say mechanics don't matter, it's something that really does hold me back personally. Just because I don't play that much anymore, because I'm so focused on coaching and VOD reviewing and making these videos, when I do go into games, I just make rusty mistakes, even on my mains. However, in this case, I'm going to show Nunu who the best tank in the game is, and I go and secure that Scuttle Crab. That's right, I outsmited a Nunu. Sometimes I can actually do things that are useful. In this case, chasing down the Nunu and grabbing that kill is really good, but it is very much a Rengar alpha play because you know Thresh is coming back, you know Jinx is going to be there, you have mid lane Prio and Qiyana is coming first, but you're going to be outnumbered, and if you feed the Jinx, which unfortunately happened, Ornn's team just basically gave her free kills. Tristana wanted to grab something, flashed and got the Thresh. So essentially, what you've got from good jungle tracking and jungle prediction is a nice gank in the bottom lane, a bit of a fiesta, but at the same time the continuation of this is very important. Nunu flashed despite the auto and the red buff killing him. So with your pathing after that as a jungler, you need to think, what is the next objective? Obviously all of blue side is up, but the top side Scuttle is up. In this situation, the Nunu going back after base straight to the raptors and then delaying his approach to the Scuttle Crab is actually not such a good move, because he could have used this moment to get some kind of control back. A better and higher MMR jungler would have gone to the Ornn's blue, fallen back to the crab, and then exited by the top lane where he had a Irelia Prio. And the reason he would have gotten away with it was because Ornn pathed directly to the crab, which is what you would expect a jungler to do in this situation. However, because he stopped to do the raptors and then went into the river, it gave Ornn time to show up, win the 1v1. We all love the high quality tank battles 1v1 in the river. But now you look at the KDA, 2-1 and 2 for the Ornn, 0-2-0 for the Nunu, equals CS. All because of great tracking early, getting the gank in before the Nunu was going to, contesting, securing, and killing for the bottom crab, and then doing exactly the same thing on the top side. Now, to be clear, usually I would go red smite on Ornn jungle. I do prefer it for the 1v1 skirmishes, but against team comps like Jinx, Syndra, you have the Nunu, you have the Irelia, they can be quite difficult to stick to, and that Stalker's Blade can be really useful when trying to chase down an auto brittle proc, or simply liking that skirmish there for some added damage in addition to the very useful slow. Now, in this situation as Ornn as a farming jungler, someone who can do a hybrid state, balancing your ganking, your map impact, and your farm, I would love to do a full clear, blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, Krugs. get it all out of the way, and then get the second spawn of the red. This will give you level 6, gives you a huge farming advantage, and the thing is, you don't know where exactly the Nunu is. The Nautilus had put down a good ward on the Grump and Nunu didn't show on it. And because when you met him in the river on the top side and killed him for the second time, you would have seen the CS at 20, you know he took the second proc of Raptors. That means Wolves, Grump, and Krugs are up, and it's very unlikely he simply goes to Krugs for no particular reason. He's got the Dragon, he's got Wolves, and he will have Grump. As such, in this case, the vision is very good from your team, but you could ping it anyway thinking he's in the river. Make sure you keep an eye on that minimap to confirm your tracking suspicions, and when it does happen, be ready for a counter gank. And the Nunu rolls on in thinking he's finally getting a gank. He doesn't know where the Ornn is, he wasn't tracking him whatsoever. However, Kiana is very slippery and is a very good champion that's fun to play against when she can go camo 18 times in a second. Ornn follows this up with a very nice counter gank on the Syndra. Simple W, smite, auto attack, gets level 6, upgrade that up in the middle of battle with your short keys, ult the Nunu, use your E for damage, Kiana follows up, and you grab a 2 for 0. Now, I don't know what Nunu goes red smite as your first item for no particular reason. It seems kind of silly, especially seeing as you're being destroyed by an Ornn jungle. So while I do miss a fair share of my E's, I also have some nice plays like this one. Makes me feel pretty good, but at the same time, this Nunu is being tracked and abused simply because of 1 or 2 wards that gave enough information even if they didn't give any visual response. That means even if something doesn't show on a ward, you can still track by extension where the jungle is going to be. Now, this is a huge lead, so you should think, okay, the game's gonna be over, this is very free. The problem is the Jinx got very fed in the early game. And while your Tristana does have her own fair share of gold and itemization, you can't really trust the game to your ADC because, you know, they're ADCs, guys. I know they think they know everything, but as soon as you put them on an actual roll, they end up stuck D4. I mean, what are you gonna do? So a little bit of a drive-by gank in the mid lane, go take the Krugs. Remember a nice little reactive gank in the mid lane earlier? Again, do the same thing. The Thresh is caught out in the river, follow up with your Nautilus, and this is where you see the utility of that blue smite. When people say Ornn doesn't have a gap closer, they're just lying. It's just very, very slow. Use it to get in range. And that's the nice thing, you can use your Q for slow, use the blue smite for slow, get her in the full AoE of the W, and as your Q pops up, down she goes, and that's another kill for you. Knowledge of damage output from Ornn as well as tankiness and CC is very important if you want to make this pick work. That and of course having a gigantic beard that makes you feel majestic every time you look at yourself. So now at this point is where a lot of people get lost. What do I do now? I've farmed, I've ganked, I counter ganked, I reactively ganked, what is the next play? In this case, the Nunu shows up on top side. He's basically losing his mind, he needs to get something going. Ornn takes the red and immediately wants to go to the dragon. Just remember, young people, that the Cinderhulk activates the dragon's aggro. Take the Scuttle Crab. If your bottom lane does rotate to help you like in this situation, use it as bait. The Jinx is very fed. Do not waste the opportunity to win a fight here. You get shut down gold, you take them off the map, you get your Tristana fed. Use flash, leave nothing to chance, but do leave a kill for your ADC unless you want them to start raging at you or something like that. You can make a play a diamond, but you can't take out the fact that they think that tanks should never have kills. And that's funny because the Ornn did the most damage in the game at the end of it. Keck W. So yeah, you had to give up that dragon, but you get Prior on the bottom lane, they get more plates, and now ask yourself the question, what's the next objective that you want to secure? In this case, the Nunu is completely irrelevant. Yes, he picks up a kill on the mid lane because the Kiana overstayed, got a little bit greedy, but the dragon is still very much a good win condition. Get 4 dragons, get the soul, win the game. So in that case, it means you want to head up to Grump, do blue, hit the plant to get vision just to see what the landscape looks like. Wolves, Raptors, Krugs, all that good stuff. When you see your bottom lane fighting, get caught out, rotate, get a kill with them, you burn the Thresh's flash, and now you get Dragon. All of this is an extension of setting the trap because Nunu was top lane. Nunu went top lane, you baited the Dragon, you won a 3v2, you did another full clear, your bot lane got ahead because of it, and now you get the dragon by extension. Excuse me for saying this, but it's all because of the snowball from that early ward. The thing is, this is where throws start to happen because people need to start shoving towers. You want to rotate from the bottom lane even though you don't have that one yet. Things can be kind of tense because you have a lead, but you notice you're not really pushing the game further apart from the dragons. Roaming supports and top laners can dive, get caught out. Yeah, the Ornn tries to help out, but do not overstay and die with them. If you see they're falling, leave, keep your life, go back, farm your camps. Go back to base, get some control wards, and because you see there's a siege in the mid lane, rotate over, miss the ultimate because that's what you gotta do. You don't want them to think you're a YouTuber who actually mains the champion. That would be really bad for you. Again, leave nothing to chance, flash, get the kill because it's very important you do so. And now you can fall back to red as your team resets. Now here's a very interesting play. I'm ignoring the Nunu because he's basically nothing and deserves to be ignored, especially from that early game, but at the same time you've got there the crab spawning. You see Thresh on vision control. A lot of junglers, especially in silver, gold, plat, will try and just greed for this. You don't know where the Nunu is, and if the Thresh shows up, you're going to be in a 2v1. If you die, you give up Prior on the Herald, on towers, and you risk losing everything. Remember, you are the fed member, you control the tempo of the game. But at the same time, you are a tank jungler, so you're kind of at the whims of your damage dealers. Now the thing is, what you're going to see is highlights of really bad fights, missed ultimates, the really fed Jinx taking over the game, losing the dragon, and yes, they grouped on the top side and got another tower. Yes, Tristana got a tower when they lost a fight on the top side. The problem is, if they just stuck together and got the Herald themselves, they could have pushed much better. So that's one thing from Ornn's gameplay in this situation. Yeah, there was a lot of focus on the bottom lane, but there could have been a little bit of pressure on the top lane, got on a Herald and used that to break the siege, which would have actually helped snowball the game in a better way. Now on one hand, Ornn's team can be very happy because they have finally gotten 2 towers, but at the same time they really took top side. They lost both bottom lane turrets when it was a 2v1 in that situation, so now this fight in the enemy blue buff area is very important. Ornn finally hits a good ultimate, gets the Syndra down. Problem is there's a couple brain lagged E's, the rest of the teamfight isn't as clean, and now it's kind of looking like Jinx could take over this game, and that would be very bad. So now it's all about team fighting and your decision with an itemization, macro, and vision control. Ornn's team wins a mini skirmish where only 1 assist goes his way, but they do secure the Fire Dragon because of it. And on the note of what I just said, Ornn finally completes Abyssal Mask. You can see from all these skirmishes, the top lane fights, the dragon fights, the mid lane fights, the Nunu has been absolutely useless, but because of Jinx winning those fights for the red team and Ornn's team had to reduce the pressure they were putting on the enemy jungle and the towers, it meant to give Nunu time to get some assists, get some itemization, and of course clear his own jungle to close the gap on CS. Now in Ornn's case, when you're a tank jungler and you've got fed laners, they're definitely going to be taking your camps at this stage. It's very sad, I know, but at the same time you get the Ornn items, so it's not the end of the world. I mean a little bit, but not totally. And on the note of warding and objective control, they still fear the Ornn, they still fear the Tristana in terms of taking that Baron very quickly. As such, Thresh is caught out warding, and then Ornn shows you that he can too be an assassin if he wants to, but Tristana KS's because, you know, ADC priority I guess. And because the Tryndamere starts a split push on the bottom lane, that means now you want to keep them here in mid lane as long as possible, try and kill as many as you can and get at least that tower. It takes a very long time because it really is tough to kill, Nunu's hard to kill, Ornn's hard to kill, and so it does take a while, but eventually they get what they want. Now we fast forward a minute or two, and let it be known that Jinx is very much a threat, and the blue team very much is all AD. That means when it comes down to these late game team fights, you must be very good about your execution, your target selection must be absolutely supreme, even more supreme than reworked Volley's hairy braids. I mean, look at them, they're soft, they're braided so nicely, it's just all the way down, it's like Ornn crossed with Rengar, it's just, anyway, on with the game. Nautilus obviously gets caught in the mid lane, Tryndamere is splitting on the bottom lane, use your Ornn ult to separate, disengage, disrupt. It doesn't do the best work, but it does set up a very nice double E onto the Nunu and Thresh. As soon as Jinx enters the picture, you've got the Qiyana going on the Syndra, you can see that, you've got the Tristana not really in range, and the Jinx, trust me, could very easily win this fight, it had to be done quickly. So as Ornn, I'm basically saying, well, I'm the only one here, I might as well become the assassin. Flash in, hit your Q, hit your W, get the auto attack to stop, and then one big up swoop of the hammer to take her out. Tryndamere is winning on the bottom lane, you win the rest of the fight. I didn't even pay attention to where Aurelia was at this stage, and the enemy will end up surrendering. So as you can see, good jungle tracking lets you make a play and predict what the enemy jungle is going to do. In turn, if you play correctly, you can end up shutting them down for good in the early game, protecting your laners from those ganks, and against a Nunu that's very, very good, even a bad one. Make sure to get those full camp sequences. What's your next objective? Go Grump to Krugs, or go Krugs to Grump if you want to do Herald and gank top lane. Know where you want to go next. Have good reactive pathing, have good reactive counter ganking. When you see the jungler somewhere else on the map, help your bottom lane create priority for objectives. But all those little fights around the dragons and the top lane, they shouldn't have happened. Group up, use your lead, get the Herald shoved together. But hopefully you can get a good idea of positives and negatives and what you need to do in order to reach this kind of MMR game. Even if it looks sloppy to you, if I was to put a silver player in it, they would not survive or thrive whatsoever, and they wouldn't punish the Nunu's mistakes in the same way. You probably hit more skill shots, but then again, you're probably 10 years younger than me. I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. Please do like, share, and comment if you did. If you want my beard to look like Ornn's beard, I do like reaching 1,000 likes. Please consider subscribing for all the Season 10 content coming your way very soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.